And welcome back, everyone. This is the Refresh Point. My name is Steve, and as always, I'm joined by my constant co-host, my GOAT, the Duluth regional champion, Ben. How's it going?
Yes! Let's fucking go! You know, I'm having a pretty good day.
I imagine so.
You know what? I'm having a pretty good time.
Yeah, nothing like the sweet taste of victory
Nothing like the sweet, sweet taste of victory. Yeah.
Yeah, I am so happy to hear that our boy, he crushed it. Just absolutely dominating the event. One total loss the entire time. Absolute, just chef's kiss, no notes. That's how we get it done.
Got him.
So, we are nearing the end of the competitive season. The holidays are upon us, and we're blessed with one more present under our Weiss English release tree. We're going to do a little role swapping so that we can discuss Ben's incredible showing at Duluth. And finally, we'll talk about our opinions on the meta for Worlds. So, shuffle your decks, tap or cut, and we'll get right into the refresh point with some breaking news.
Let's fucking go. We got him. Easy clap. If you saw my Twitter, you know my opinions on this. Everybody was truly just so fucking free. No, but so Duluth happened.
Yeah.
And I'm the fucking winner. Congratulations to me. Tragically for both the Adventure Time player and the Review Starlight player, that actually we'll talk about it more, but like my top 8 opponents were very favorable, like knowledge wise for me, because I was like, yeah, I know what's up. I know what we could pull here. It's pretty nice. And as a reminder, if you were downtrodden, if you forgot, if you're a slime player that was like, they banned Shizu, it's definitely bad now. Or if you were like, oh, they banned slime, maybe it'll be worse, like in a significant way. I am here to remind you that the death of slime has been greatly exaggerated.
Yeah, Bushiroad really knows how to twist the knife on me. They just know deep down in their bones how to hurt me in every way possible. They're like, nice deck. What if we removed the only good thing about it? Oh, but this is our other deck that we definitely want to do well at Worlds, so we're not gonna hurt that deck very much. Hope you didn't hate that deck with the utmost intensity. Anyway, congratulations, Ben. I could not be happier. I'm now the second best player on the refresh point. It's further proof that no matter what an old person does, a younger person will be able to do it better. You hate to see it.
It's... I think I did the interview with you like fucking like 2 episodes ago. Yep. And now here we are. It's so funny to me that like this happened, because to me I was like, you know, this is like my first, like super first year of like super tryharding with the meta list and like honing in on the habits to try and compete and do well.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, okay, if we can manage another top 8, that would be sick. You know, that's
super reasonable.
That's like the metric of like uber success, because we already got a top 8 this year.
Yeah.
Which is already like very, very nice. And then I fucking won. So
they don't give away top 8s,
Yeah.
like they used to.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm so happy. It's such like further confirming that in case you were curious about where the best Weiss is played in the United States. Allow me to clarify that for you, and perhaps anybody in the regions of Chicago or California, or anybody else who thinks they might be the best region, you are not. The best Weiss Schwarz is played in DFW, and
the best Weiss Schwarz is played right here, North Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth. We have a top 8 for every regional we attended, including the one player that went to the Netherlands.
I don't know what to say. Like, if you think you're better, come get some. Like, we'll be at Worlds. We'll be at Worlds. There's 5 of us already. And we still got another regional to go.
We do have another regional to go.
I mean,
so
if you think you're better, then you're welcome to try. But yeah.
So, okay, I will I'll just die forever laughing and just slamming on everyone's grave forever. We only have 3 players from the Dallas area going to Anaheim. This includes me. I have no incentive for this tournament. Ian also did it for Duluth, and he still got top 8. And I can't play, the set that I would have playtested for Worlds is not legal. So, I'm everywhere, mindset-wise, I'm everywhere in between just spiking it with slime again, playing a review list for fun, or even playing a Batman list for fun, just to really hurt somebody's ego if and when they lose to Batman in the year of our Lord 2023.
The thing is that Weiss Schwarz is a complicated game.
Yeah.
And knowledge about sets can play a factor in your decision making.
Yep.
Please don't do it to him. But rounding out the rest of the non-winners in Duluth, we have the best possible finish or the best finish this season for Adventure Time.
Actually, it's the same one.
Yeah.
Because it was 2 seconds.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, this is the best showing in NA.
Yeah.
For it. Congratulations, second place with a deck that.
Shout out to you, Anthony.
Yeah. That's a great finish.
You're the homie. So he's basically just an Adventure Time one trick. And when Alice left, he was like, I got 3rd last year here. Maybe it's time to go a little higher.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that there's nothing spookier in a tournament setting than a person who's been playing something that's near meta for the entire time it's been out. Those are the matchups I hate and dread, because those people just know their set intimately and how it plays into the matchups, and you don't. So I can't remember the last time I faced an Adventure Time deck. I'm sort of familiar with most of the cards. But they do have to make some significant trade-offs in terms of mechanics, because a lot of they imprison some of the mechanics in other colors. And ultimately, one of their better tricks, which is the sword, is cucked by slime. So, I mean, you can join Overlord in the line of great mechanics that don't actually work against this one deck.
Yeah. But we can talk more about that all in the Spike Corner.
Yeah.
But clickbait once more.
Yeah, exactly. That's how. See, we'll
get back there.
We gotta get the average viewer time up. That's how we do it. It's for the metrics.
It's for the metrics. Totally.
But right now, we're gonna move to position 0 and center stage for the other member of the refresh point.
Honestly, it's kind of funny that we've done this, and secondarily, the next time we do this, we probably should do this soonish and with anybody else.
True.
We need the interview segment to be more than just the 2 podcast members.
Yeah, we'll get there. But for now, let's focus on the other half of the refresh point, the younger half, the better half, arguably the half that will be playing this game longer. Ben, congratulations. That's a heck of a showing.
I'm wondered. Congratulations.
Are you surprised at how quickly you were able to secure your first regional victory?
Fully yes. So I think I said it to Taiki, one of the other Dallas players, on Tuesday. I was like it has taken better players longer to win a regional than I just pulled it. And that's crazy to me. I started playing the game in 2019-ish, 2020-ish, and I played a Batman Ninja trial deck for 6 months in like the university student union. I didn't go to an LGS until like near like the end of my first year of like playing the game ish, and they still had Batman packs. So I was at the time desperately pulling for a finisher and the brainstormer at the time. Just like, give me more copies of the finisher, please. Give me a salvage brainstormer, please. Because I didn't even know about TCG Player, and like I wasn't really like engaging with the community until like about a year in ish, and by then like COVID hit, and by the time COVID hit, I had my Batman list together, but I was just like, I was like the super casual Batman player.
Yeah,
I walked up to the locals, and if it was a 2-2 night, it was a good night, because that meant I didn't go 0-4.
So, in that same vein, what was it that made you decide, this game's cool, but it would be better if I tried to take it to the next level?
There was a point. There was a point sometime, I would say probably about 2 years ago, about a year and a half. No, about 2 years ago now. Or we can look it up. So when did that time I got reincarnated as a slime, set to Weiss Schwarz release date? Okay. This was released
around 2 years ago.
Yeah. And so when that set released, leading up to that, I started feeling it. Just the feeling of, I don't just want to play this card game. I want to win at the card game and do it at least a little bit more. And when Set 2 of Slime released, you could play Fruits of Wisdom into the book finisher pretty like all together. And I had picked up some trial decks when they were much cheaper and gotten, Mask, some Rimuru Tempest, Chloe, whole 9 yards. And I started playing Slime and trying more. And it eventually led to me playing like the consensus best like slime list of like the Set 1 Shizu with the Ramrus into the book Shizu, and like a year or so ago playing that to a solo regional. I played it to Chicago. I went X2, and I played Batman at the Houston one for fun, and that was that season. But this year, especially, graduated college and having been playing more and more and more, I was just like, okay, all right. and even partly like you pulling me and Billy into a team for Springfest and deciding that we wanted to like travel even, that all culminated into me just like, I want to win. I want to win.
Yeah. So that the getting a victory at this stage, do you think that that will change your expectations for future competitive seasons?
No.
Not at all?
Literally never. Because I've always gone in with the mindset that you need some luck. If you don't have it, you don't have it. And that's the life. And you can play well, and that'll probably at least get you an X2 and X3 if it's really bad, or if your mindset's bad that day, right? But if you want to get to the top 8, you do need a little luck and the skill, obviously. And so, somebody else was talking to me about that, and they were like, yeah, I feel like sometimes like people's mental, if they qualify for Worlds, but then they don't go back, like it feels doomed. But for me, I'm just like, I feel very lucky to have gotten this early, but I am not the fool to believe that like it has to happen again. Because like I agree with when Clinton was on the show, I do believe he mentioned that to win an event, you kind of need 2 lucky breaks. And I can literally pinpoint both of those in this top 8 run. For me. And like, you know, that might just never happen again.
Speaking of like your mental state, how did you feel? How was your mental state going into the event, and do you feel like it changed during the event?
So going into it, I feel like I've refined it more as I've been playing more tournaments. And I just keep repeating the mantra to me, like, X more rounds. That's all I needed. That's all that needs to happen. So it's a started tournament. I'm just like, and I set the, it's like, it's super delusional. It's highly delusional, right? Is like, I'm going to win this event. That happens in 11 rounds. So I need to win 11 rounds. And we're going to go one by one and just keep going, regardless of what happens. And after Houston, especially, where like I lost round 1 on stream and the mental like super tanked instantly, I realized I was just like, I've got to find a way to chill after having like good, hype, bad, you know, close games, whatever. And actually for me, like being on my phone and like checking Twitter or like a group chat or something is super bad for me, because it kind of like loops me into more of like being super emotional. And so I literally had a book, and like if you saw me at Duluth, you would have just seen me in between rounds just like chilling somewhere, just like reading a few more pages of 7 Samurai Swept Away in a River. Like it was just a book, and like it was something to do in between rounds that wasn't trying to focus on the last game, trying to focus on maybe the stakes or something else or anything. It was just take me away from it for a little bit. And then when I hop right back into it, we just gotta go. We have to play the best we can, and we have to play 11 more rounds, 10 more rounds, 9 more rounds, 8 more rounds, so on, so on. And that's not to say that I didn't feel it whenever it's like the win in it, or we take the first loss. But it's just like, I was just like, have to keep going.
How, of the things that contributed to your win, how big of a factor do you believe that local practice or even online practice played into your success? You're playing probably 3 or 4 or 5 days a week, every single week for months now. Do you feel that effort was necessary, useful, required?
It's not required, and we know it's not required because other people win events all the time without having to do that. That being said, it definitely put me in a better position, and obviously it did, because you can look that I have not played as long as many other people that are topping or winning events, right? And like, just playing so much either over webcam or in person is just like the reps. You just get into the play patterns. You learn faster, like, what is good, what is bad, what do I play for against this deck, how do I play against the counterplay, because every time you have to think about it in the tournament is worse. It's worse. That's partially even why Don, who is playing the 4th place player who's playing Azure Lane, why it kind of like it was kind of bad for him, and because he admitted it, that he didn't have slime practice at his local, he didn't have overlord practice at his local. So whenever he came up and we were playing our semifinal, I was like, this guy's not Ian, who's our Azure Lane player. I was like, he's not Ian. Like, he's not playing around stuff. I'm pretty sure I've got him. And he built up 10 stock and ate a 10 stock swap for 5 climaxes. Which is just like, yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great example of, you know, knowing what sets, you know, what mechanics are in what sets and what you can get away with and what you cannot get away with.
But it's not even like that as well. It's because he knew that slime had a stock swap.
Yeah.
But when you're not used to playing against it,
yeah, when
you're not used to playing around it, it's that much harder to formulate the plan on the spot and then say, okay, wait. We can't do what I normally do. I have to do something different or I'm going to get hit. But what exactly is it? Does it compromise my game plan too much? So on, so forth. But you don't have the time for all of these thoughts, like, on the day. You just can't. It's or you can, but you'd have to be a genius. Like, you'd literally have to be like, okay, that's their whole waiting room. I've read all the cards now. I have to change something about my game plan. We have to do it like this. We have to do it like this. I think this is how it has to go. And if your game plan's resilient enough, then, like, it's easier. But, like, if you have to make a hard choice about how you're going to, you know, change things and still win, that's just so much harder.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. So, we're headed to Worlds, you and I.
We are. Refresh Point is going to Worlds.
Heading into Worlds, what are your expectations for yourself?
I'm going to go play at the World Championship. I have no other expectations. Because, I mean, let's be real. Like, okay, well, I'll say it like this, and I'll say it like, with every event that I've gone to, on the day, we always return to the delusion that I am here to win, and I'm going to win. And all I need to do is create that reality for myself. And that's a fully delusional take in a game of, like, luck and, like, misplays and, you know, good opponents and all that stuff. Fully delusional. But I promise you, sitting here right now, thinking about it, a little realistically, it's like, this is my first Worlds. I haven't seen or played against most of all of these other players, and they're going to have all their tricks up their sleeve and all these decks that they've been practicing and all this stuff. And, I'm going to be playing Guilty Gear Strive because, it's the World Championship. If I'm going to win, I even want to push it further and win on the thing I want to win on. And so it's like, I'm going to play Guilty Gear. Do I think that's my best chance of winning? No. I would play Slime if I was fully given to the try-hard mentality. But because there's nothing higher than this, I just want to see how far I can go with Guilty Gear. But on the day, I promise you, if you ask me, I'm going to look at you and I'm going to say, I'm going to win. And I'm going to do everything it takes to do so.
Just to get technical about the cards for a little bit, did your deck perform as you thought it would if you were going to play this deck at Worlds? What changes would you make, if any?
It's hard.
Yes.
So, going into Worlds, there's only one more set that's going to release, and it's Guilty Gear, which doesn't really say or do anything that changes the Slime game plan. We've had a few regionals for sets to try to figure it out, and I think that a Hololive list that is playing into Anya and the Marine Finisher is still probably one of the better matchups into Slime, because Anya fucking just murks Miron instantly, and then probably gets the climax, and then they get the advantage, and then they're probably able to fully easily match you at the end game as well. So, but the thing is, there's just not really much that you can nor want to do about that. You just kind of have to keep playing the same game plan. And there's I've never played in a BCS an 8 standby Hololive list. And so that also is a big, if they get it and you can't counterplay around it, it's fuckered, right? Because you get the one auto instance, and then they have great performance, they play the event, you get nothing else. So there's that as well. If they're playing into that. If they play into the Luna with the Scry and the Burn on reverse, it's a little bit more palatable. You can bounce the Luna, you can, still perform your full end game. And that's kind of the thing with Slime, is as long as we get to Muron, as long as the game state's even enough, you being at 2-4 or 2-5 with even a mildly just not super compressed deck, and I'm at 3, this is perfect. If you're at 3 somehow and you didn't get to try to kill me, and I'm now going to be at 3, this is even better. Because I'm going to loop Dragonoid as many times as my stock in hand will let me, and then I'm going to jam a Xion into your face. And if I'm somehow uber rich, I can probably just do that and 2 Clock Eggs or a Benny Maru looped in to try to fish for a cancel in the attack phase, right? It's just kind of it's it just works kind of thing, as long as you draw out all the climaxes and eat all the damage. And the one time that was close to happening was the finals, where I drew out 4 in my hand, turn 2, and I'm this is pretty rough. And I do the 1 combo, and we get a board set up of 2 Rimuru and 1 human Muron that was standbyed out turn 1. Because I was pretty sure I'll trigger standby, discard the 1-0. Oh, look at that, we did it. And so I was this could be rough. But then I looked across at my opponent, and I was hey, wait a minute. This guy's playing Twin Drive Standby. He's playing my combo. He has less soul triggers in his deck. Nah, he ain't got damage. And listeners, he did not, in fact, have damage like that. I got away with staying at 1-5 with now 3 climaxes in my hand or so. No way to discard. But the rest of my deck is 6 cards. Now then, if you can do the math, and I trigger 5 times into a deck of 6 cards that's all clean, we might be ending up with somewhere around 10 to 11 stock. With 6 going back. And that was pretty good.
For sure. Well,
and so the realist answer, like going back to the original question, is like, I liked Mask. I liked the ability to discard a lot using Chloe and Nguyen Muron to get targets that I wanted. And I think the toolbox finish for me was perfectly reasonable. And I would literally probably just run this 50 just straight back. I would test out like changes like a third Shuna to make that more reliable, or maybe like a third Xion even to make that easier to have for double. But like realistically, if Worlds started immediately after Guilty Gear was legal, I guess it is, and I was really truly trying to win in a proper logical way, I would bring my exact same set of 50 cards. And if you find a counterplay to it that's truly and really effective, then Godspeed to you. But I'm going to run it. Well, I would. But we're not being rational. We are Totsugekiing our way to the World Championship. So...
Well, I wish you good luck. I can't wish you the best of luck because I will be there with you and reaching for my own victory.
Yes.
But for now, we're going to let the curtain close on position 0, center stage. And we're going to head to a much more familiar, comfortable, casual, a location we love, a location we always find ourselves. And we're going to head right into the Spike Corner.
It's time for the Spike Corner, baby. I got notes for days. I got all these matchups right here.
So, so I want to talk about any weird things that you played against that...
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
All right.
So we got the Adventure Time Final. I'm interested in that.
The Adventure Time Final. So I told the story about what happened in the early game.
Yeah.
And basically, he was eating all the damage as well, which was like the super like rough thing.
Right.
Because like he's eating a bunch of damage, and it's not even that I'm canceling.
Right.
I just can't even push.
Right.
Like he just can't even push rather. Like there's just nothing.
He's just not getting the juice.
He's not getting the juice back. And man, like there's just nothing else to really say about it. Even though like I had so much stock, right?
Yeah.
Like after I refreshed that deck.
Yeah.
That like even though I only had like double Muron or whatever, it's like even though I triggered, it's just like what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
I have full board, half a full hand or so, like 15, 16, just obscene amounts of stock, because and I'll be real, I fully disrespected it. I was like, I'm looking at your hand, I'm looking at your setup. I don't know what your stock swap is at this time, but I'm pretty sure you can't pull it off without ending your entire existence.
Yeah, so...
And the answer to that, post game, is that the stock swap is a blue 2/1 that ditches 2.
Yeah.
And that list was not running more than 2 blue cards.
Yeah, so that's an example of what I was talking about earlier, where like we have a mechanic, it's very good, but unfortunately it's imprisoned in a color that like you don't want to run very much of, and so it becomes like a very hard ask to be able to actually play that. Adventure Time is one of those sets that the sets that came out prior to 2020 they're just a little bit short on mechanics. And like that's kind of the fundamental difference between like what is meta now and what was meta like a few years ago. The finisher for Adventure Time is super reasonable. A lot of the mechanics very reasonable.
Yeah, like there's a reason why he is second.
Yeah, like it's a very good deck. But there's always like 1 or 2 things that like clunk up the works. Like Adventure Time reminds me a lot of Fate, where it's like a lot of the core of this is very, very solid, and like with a few different like 2 cards, you could probably push it to like bottom of the meta, but like meta relevant.
Yeah.
But it's just like not having climax swap in a modern Weiss deck is so painful, because it was a very rare mechanic before, and now it's become so common that like every deck has it.
Like Guilty Gear's gonna get the RA for red or what? Like that's how common the effect is now.
Yeah, and so like not having that is such a huge variance at like addition to a deck, where it's like not only do we need to get climaxes, now we need the right ones. And it forces you to hold climaxes in situations where you wouldn't normally, or where other decks don't have to. And so it doesn't, there's like some very small but needed mechanics that if you don't have them, it feels very painful.
Yeah. And so, and the funniest thing is this is the second lucky break, I would call it. Because at the end game, you know, I was just like, you know what? We just gotta go. And I was like, we got infinite money. I got these Dragonoids and these Bonders in my hand, and I got a Xion. And so I Dragonoid burn him like 3 or 4 times, and then he's sitting at 3-3, 3-4, and I'm just like, here we go. I misplayed because I didn't swing to Clock Kick, or I didn't swing the Xion first, so there was no world that I would have the stock for Xion and Clock Kick. So he, I believe, blocks the first vanilla swing, blocks the burn 4, takes the penalty, or takes the burn 1 cancel, and then takes the 3 to die. But let's be real here, guys. He had 8 climaxes in his deck! And, you know, not the most compressed, but like, it was a highly incorrect to not swing with the Clock Kick, or like, you know, it is correct to swing with the Clock Kick at the end because Adventure Time has a refresh counter. So I don't particularly want him to like be able to refresh climaxes in any scenario, but definitely should have left the Clock Kick on the table. Like, come on, guys. But nope, he just died immediately. So he died before, yeah, like he just is just death. And then the second lucky break actually came at our other dark horse, and God bless you, Floyd Sagan, the fucking review Starlight players. Stand by door. Let's go. I fought him in Swiss round 6. And then in quarters, and the joke that I made was that I am one of like the 5 people in the whole world that know the set well enough to be like, let me prep this counterplay. And here's the shtick. It literally saved my life in quarters. So he's prepping the door finisher.
Right.
The door finish, and with this, we've actually talked about, because of my ambitious deck building, we've talked about the standby combo many a time. It's just Yuki once, but you got to stand by, and you didn't have to pay for it, and you know, we got a fun setup. So here's the door setup. The important thing actually isn't the 3-2 Karen, which is on attack, pay 1, ditch 1, either burn 2 or check top 3, discard any of those cards, and reshuffle the deck.
Check your opponent's top 3.
Check your opponent's top 3, get rid of any number, reshuffle their deck. Pairs nicely with our 2-1 assist that top checks the enemy's 3 cards and rearranges them as you like. But the important thing here is we can get this finisher during the attack step with the 3-2 Hikari. The Hikari sacrifices the 2-1 Karen that gets stock from waiting room and checks top for a character or the 3-1 event, and gets the 3-2 Karen finisher onto the board. It's 3 stock and ditch 1, I believe. But you have, flavor reasons, you have to sacrifice the 2-1 specifically named Reunion Karen Aicho. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what is Slime equipped with to remove a small character front attacking you off the board forever?
Yeah, so this 2-1 only gets power when it's facing a level 3 or higher. So if it's facing a level 2, let's say hypothetically, like Muron, it might be vulnerable to the memory counter.
It might be vulnerable to the memory counter. I bricked that memory counter in my hand for 4 turns. I didn't even pants combo more than once. I had 8 climaxes left in the deck, and I memory countered the 2-1, took it. Took the next, or blocked the next point of damage, but if he had triggered on his Hikari swing, I would have died instantly.
Wow.
And if he was able to sacrifice the 2-1 to get a 4th swing and a burn 2, I would have definitely died instantly. With 8 in deck, but all at the bottom.
Yeah, and it's another great showcase of like understanding what your opponent needs and how you can prevent it.
He also just ate so much damage. He was super accelerated, but that was the thing, because I was like, okay, well, the only way, because I was tracking his 3-2 Karens throughout the game as well. I was like, the only way you're getting this Karen is with the 2-1. So this is not going to happen.
Yeah, and but yeah, even though he was taking a bunch of damage, like, it was winnable.
True.
And so I think that's an important idea in the game, is that like it's okay to take damage. Like, try not to despair if you're taking damage early in the game, because it's gonna happen a lot in Modern Weiss, where like you can take big chunks at a time. But the game does desire drama, and it will have it if you let it. And so if you can keep like your mental about you during games where you're getting absolutely clobbered, there will frequently be a window for you back into the game. Now, it may not work out, and that window might slam shut in your face, but it is rare that a game goes so one-sided that you don't have any opportunity to seize the tempo of a game.
Yeah.
So.
Round 1 was a Shizu Wind, set 1 basically upgraded deck, and I definitely almost died, but we had some nice early game deck management and some nice kind of end game end game building of like what our end game board would be, and able to clutch that out. And I was like, the round 1 is over. We're not just in the jungle.
Yeah, getting that first win, I cannot explain how important that is, and how you should try to get it. The highest variance round you're gonna play is the first one.
Yeah, so. And I fought 3 locals on the way to top 8.
That sucks at a 140 person event.
Yeah. Round 2 was a Chloria Marine La Plus list. At one point, I just fully disrespected their stock swap. I was like, you have like 4 stock. Sure, you could pay for the stock swap. How are you going to kill me from 2-3? The answer was they didn't. So
I think that that's an important idea about stock swap, is that stock swap is a real threat that you have to pay attention to, but usually the question to be asked is, okay, so what happens if they stock swap? And if the answer is, well, they play like one level, other level 3, and then they go, well, maybe you can tolerate that, right? And the compression is worth it. It's one of those things that you have to gauge while you're actually in it. But a lot of times stock swaps will come in out of like a more desperate sort of raw play.
Yeah. The Gura game is kind of unfortunate. They forgot to accelerate for Ame, so they couldn't clock themselves to 3 so I could strand them. But then when I tried to go for the game end, they had 3 climaxes left in a, not super compressed deck, but they found the cancels, and so I got Gurad. And I was like, yep, that's valid. And before that was the game.
Is that Asukigura?
Yeah, Asukigura. And then before that was the games into one of the locals, Jake, who's playing 2-Soul Muron, and I just ended up blocking. And it turns out when you block enough, you can win a game. And then into Ian's Azure lane, his only loss, up to the top 8, which was the way that I had scammed him the whole month. It's honestly ridiculous how this happened more than like 2 times in the last month, where he's like, okay, I ran my whole board in, I'm at 2-3, I have 8+ stock, I have a full hand, 8 climaxes in the waiting room, there's 3 cards left in my deck. Surely I can block 1 Xion and 2 vanilla Muron swings. Now then, because I stand here before you as a champion, I'd like to inform you that he did not survive single Xion and 2 vanilla Muron swings.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just don't block. It sucks. You've done everything right to that point, but you hate to see it.
Yeah. And then in the last round into Taiki, he went out like 6 climaxes early.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I don't think it matters if I have this pants next turn. I think it matters if I shoot him to like 2-3 right now. And the answer was he went to 2-3 right then.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
So this is one of the... There's not going to be very many events left before Worlds.
In fact, there's one.
Right. So, we should... I want to look at the rest of the top 8 here, just quickly. We see, like, 3 decks that I probably would not have said would be here.
Adventure Time, yeah. Data Live, 8 book.
8 book Data Live.
Yeah.
You know, book is one of those triggers that it had a place at one point in Weiss, but I feel like it's kind of fallen off because of better triggers.
Now, the fun thing about this deck is that you can pay out the book for advantage. I don't remember the exact card, but I think it's like a 1/0 that like gives your characters...
it's pay 1 to salvage whenever you trigger a book.
Yeah.
So that's not the greatest thing ever, but they have this setup for 8 book has double reverse combos, or the 1/0 is like reverse or empty, but it's basically on reverse or empty, check 5, add 1.
Which is not unreasonable. Overlord is playing the same combo.
Yeah, well,
or the same condition.
Yeah,
rather.
and check 5, add 1 is a lot of deck movement.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not against it.
And you can clock yourself with your Brainstormer and pay 2 to just have the finishing climax. Just have it.
Yeah, exactly. And so the finishing combo is on reverse, burn 3, and scry the top of your opponent's deck. Or look at the top of your opponent's deck and you can either put it in the waiting room or leave it. Two downsides here. One, we need a reverse, and two, we need a full field. So
there's a lot of power though.
It's 11.5 base, which is ginormous.
Yeah.
There's definitely like some ways to pull it off. My worry with this card is it's vulnerable to a lot of mechanics that exist in the game.
Yeah.
So you have to be a bit delicate with how you play it out. They do have a way to give minus power to opponents. They do have back row supports that will make them humongous. That 1-0 that you're referring to gives that card 2,000 power.
Yeah.
The book support.
We got a lot of power.
So it's massive. But yeah, if you run into the wrong kind of circumstance, you might be stranded without your finishing combo.
And if you want more in-depth thoughts on this, Chairman, the player, from Tressa's Collectibles, I can't believe I messed up saying, from Tressa's Collectibles, did make a deck profile. So you can go check that out. Other fun decks, obviously, Azure Lane had 2 in this top 8. It's the bar doorbell.
Yeah.
That I feel like is starting to become consensus, probably the best way to go about it.
It's definitely one of the best ways to go about it. We're talking about a relatively modest climax profile. The bar is a stock resource, a la Kaguya from set 2, where you just get to cash out from the waiting room.
And you can bounce the Brainstormers back into your hand, making them forever immune to Overlord mechanics.
You have to.
Yeah, and you have to.
So the have to is awkward at points, because if the game's going really well, then you're going to find yourself discarding cards a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But the upside is that you will be able to avoid your Brainstorm getting wiped by the board wipe against Overlord, which is huge at keeping the game stable, which is kind of what Overlord relies on to keep the game winnable for them, is the generic instability that's added when you remove all of your opponent's characters. The door combo is an enabler combo, so
it's gonna give our restander Kronstadt from Bismarck.
Yeah.
Bismarck gives Kronstadt, hey, on attack, check your top 2. If I see a climax, get rid of it.
Yeah, so it's Mocha 2 for the restanders, so you're gonna get Mocha 2 several times.
Yeah.
It's a reasonable way to finish your opponent. It relies on a lot of moving parts, but
experience and you
need a way to keep a full board while you're trying to sacrifice a character. The restander has to put one of your characters in the waiting room, so you'll either need to pay 3 or you'll have to have a character that has Encore to sustain it. Typically what you'll see in these builds is they will run a clock Encore
South
1-1.
Dakota. Yep.
Yeah, that they'll use to stabilize the board so they can do double restand. So that's kind of how they kill you. It's in a resource efficiency deck. It runs 2 different bonders that...
Oh, it's also a Soul Rush deck,
yes.
If you forgot.
Yes, so it has 2 different bonder engines that it uses at 0 and 1 to prevent it from having to really need a level 1 advantage combo that have bonus souls, and they can dig each other out. It's very, very synergistic, very nice. We hate it. But
yep.
Bonus souls is the worst thing in Weiss Schwarz. I wish they would stop doing it.
Yep. And with Duluth, with that being Duluth, also shout out to the HoloLife player that beat me. Did go X2, but still made it to top 8. So, shout out to you, Ham. So truly, definitely, you were the winner of Georgia, having beaten the one that won the event, obviously. But also, this same weekend, Cardiff in the United Kingdom had their tournament. Shout out to yet another Steve for making top 8. We've been playtesting each other. We were teammates in the Trigger League with Korone Maureen and a single Shioko 2 Soul, just for that extra funny deck 1 state punish.
Yeah, Hololive continues to be the set that is omnipresent in every single top 8 that exists. But
I mean, really, shout out to the GGO 8-door AOT win choice list that made it to the top 8 as well.
Yeah, we're starting to see the effects of in particular, the Alice Restrict, where like decks that had just absolutely no way to win the game before can now participate in the game. So we see Dow Choice Pants here, AOT Win Choice. These are the type of decks that were being absolutely strangled to death by the Alice board. So not over surprising to see some greater diversity as we head towards the end of the Springfest or the BCS season. But all this is doing is creating all the gears are turning in all the competitive players that are going to Worlds, because now the meta has become very diverse and uncertain, whereas before it was very narrow and certain. So whether that's a good thing or not is an object for debate, but what we can say for sure is heading into Worlds, we are now probably the most diverse meta we've had all year.
Rogue, like basically every single rogue deck is much closer at being able to win than ever before, because it turns out when you allow level 1 to exist again, a lot of those decks came flooding on back.
Yeah, and so it'll be very interesting to talk about how the World's meta looks, because there's going to be your obvious favorites, but in a smaller event, I feel that it leaves a lot of room for those type of decks to win. Like the type of deck that you aren't thinking about. And SDS kind of was in this position last year, where it was relatively unknown, relatively untested. It came out late in the season. It either had, I think, one regional or no regionals. Mm-hmm. It's going to be kind of in the same position as Guilty Gear is going to be, where it's going to... people are going to play Guilty Gear, guys, at Worlds. People are going to play Guilty Gear at Worlds. And it's just going to be really unknown how that set's going to behave in the rest of the context of the meta. Because while we do know most of the cards at this point, and we probably have a decent idea about how to build it,
10 cards is 10 cards, man.
There's going to be...
they could put anything in there.
Yeah, and but even then, we're going to know the whole set at least a month in advance.
Yeah.
But you don't really know exactly how it's going to shake out until you get it into the tournament play and you start seeing it played and people start forming real conclusions about what the best way to build it is. So we'll have to see. I think right now I can name at least 10 decks. I would not be surprised if they won Worlds. Like, they're just that good. And I think prior to the Restrict, I would have had a list of 4 decks that I thought could do it. And that's a lot better for the game health-wise. Probably not better for figuring out what you're going to play at Worlds.
Yeah, nice job. But that'll be it for now. Both this episode and the one immediately prior to this, where I did not know I was going to, in fact, win Duluth. And so the juxtaposition of listening to these two back-to-back will be very funny. These are probably coming out pretty much, right on the dollop before Anaheim. Little Christmas present for you all, just 22, 23. And we're gonna go to the holidays. So episode 24 will be recorded and released in the new year. Woo!
Episode 24 in 2024, as Ben and I begin in earnest to capture the glory of being called the greatest of this year. And so that's going to be our show for today. So tune in next time after your next deck out. And don't you forget to take the refresh point.